for the town board for August 27th, the time being 7:02 p.m. Ms. Iker, will you please take roll call?
Mayor Christy Melendez,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Ken Bennett,
Here.
Miles Baker,
Here.
Barry Wilson,
Here.
Paul Rennemeyer,
Here.
Tom Jones, David Soslowski.
Here.
Mr. Baker, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is review of agenda by the board and addition of items of new business to the agenda for consideration by the board. Are there any additional items? If not, I would seek a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
A motion on the floor from Mr. Rennemeyer and a second from Mr. Wilson approving the agenda as presented. All in favor vote yes, opposed no. Agenda is approved as presented. Moving on to item 5, public invited to be heard. I don't believe we had anybody who signed up, did we? So there's nobody here this evening who apparently wants to come before the board on a non-agenda item. So we'll move on to item B, our consent calendar.
Madam Mayor.
Did you want to do board liaison?
Liaison.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, sorry. I'm moving way
I like
ahead.
it.
Sorry.
Just keep it rolling.
Keep it going. Board liaison reports, Mr. Baker. Tree Board, Historic Preservation Commission.
After all that, I have nothing to report, other than the tree board meets tomorrow at 5.
Okay. Town Board Member Wilson, Parks, Recreation, and Culture Advisory Board, Poudre River Trail Corridor Board.
For Parks and Rec, of course, we have the Harvest Festival coming up, so there's a lot of work going on there. In the Main Street Park, the new playground equipment was delayed, so that'll be ready the second week of September. A little bit unfortunate, but once it gets here, it's going to be wonderful. And then as far as the Poudre River Trail Corridor, there is a event party for the Poudre. That's going to be Wednesday, September 12th. Tickets are $35. And just encourage people to attend. It's a good cause. Thank you.
Okay. Town Board Member Bennett, Water and Sewer Board, and tonight going to be giving the Windsor Housing Authority
Yes.
update.
No report from Water and Sewer Board. I attended Housing Authority last week in place of Dr. Jones. Several things. They are now ready to present their master plan for the new senior housing to the Planning Commission on September 5th. It calls for 123 new units. They reported that things have been progressing very well on that. And they gave compliments to our planning department for working with them. They selected a name for the new facility. It's going to be called Golden Meadows. Governor's Farm purchase is still a possibility. They are working with the Department of Agriculture, Rural Development to get permission to raise the rents to make the numbers work. And the last thing is they are contacting various foundations around northern Colorado seeking a $25,000 grant for an emergency generator.
Wonderful. Good news. Town Board Member Rennemeyer, Chamber of Commerce.
Outside of our regular meeting this month, the one thing I wanted to mention was that last week I got the privilege of attending because the Chamber of Commerce was a big sponsor of the new teachers breakfast that occurred at the Severance Middle School. And it was just neat to kind of be the fly on the wall. There was no speaking or anything else. I kind of just went to represent the town, and they were all grateful that the town was actually participating or that there was somebody that was there. So it was neat. It was neat to get to see all the new teachers. Windsor has 60 new teachers in the Windsor Severance School District. That's actually down from 85 new teachers that they had last year. So a lot of new faces, but getting to see all the different schools represented was a lot of fun.
Okay. Town Board Member Soslowski, Clearview Library Board, Planning Commission.
The Planning Commission meeting that would have been in the interim was postponed, and the Library Board will meet this Thursday. I'll be at that meeting. Other than that, nothing to report. Thank you.
Okay. And I have North Front Range MPO, which I don't have a report since the last meeting. It will meet the first Thursday in September, which I believe is September 6th. In LaSalle. And Downtown Development Authority, they did meet on August 15, 2018. So a couple things that we have going on is we did kick off the wayfinding sign study, and that is moving ahead. We've already had some community outreaches, and there are some more planned in October and November. So not only from the DDA do we want some input, but some general public input as well. So they plan to have a lot of presence. I believe they're going to be at Windsor Wonderland. They've been to a couple of our farmers markets. So stay tuned and watch for those opportunities to give your input as to what you think is missing that needs to be found and needs a sign for, because that's what the study is all about. We did not get an update to the backlots yet, but I'm thinking we might be getting one hopefully maybe this Friday, sometime soon. I know we're going to be closing on the backlot property that the DDA purchased. They needed just a couple extra weeks to finalize everything, but that should be happening in early September. And I do know the mill plans to kick off, and you should start seeing something happening with the old mill facility on or around the very early part of October. So that's going to be starting to move forward as well. And that's all I have to report. So of course, we already recognize that we don't have any public invited to be heard. So moving on to item B, our consent calendar. We have 2 items this evening under the consent calendar: minutes of the August 13th, 2018 regular meeting and resolution 2018-80. Is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, I'll move that the consent calendar items be approved as submitted.
Second?
Motion on the floor from Mr. Kozlowski with a second from Mr. Bennett, approving the consent calendar as presented. All in favor vote yes, opposed no. And it is approved unanimously. Moving on to item C, official board action. First item this evening is resolution. Resolution number 2018-81, a resolution approving an agreement for economic incentives between the Town of Windsor and Vestas Blades America Incorporated. Legislative action. Ms. Young will give presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and town board members. Tonight we're here to discuss the incentive request for Vestas. Joining us tonight is Hans Jesperson with Vestas. As you'll see on the map, for anybody who's not aware of where they're located, they are located in the Great Western Industrial Park. Their particular project is new equipment that is totaling $27 million. With this new equipment, they are not only retaining 1,103 employees, but they will be adding 100 new jobs. With this new equipment, it will allow them to keep up with current demands and remain competitive within the company's worldwide structure. A 50% personal property tax rebate has been requested with this incentive. As you will see here, this is Exhibit B that was part of the incentive agreement, showing the tax incentive worksheet over a period of 3 years. The total personal property tax income over 3 years will be a little over $115,000. The 3-year total refund, the 50% 3-year total refund to the Town of Windsor would be just under $58,000. This will not have an effect on the Economic Incentive Fund balance. And we are requesting approval of Resolution 2018-81 for the incentive agreement for 50% personal property tax rebate for Vestas. Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments for Ms. Young or the applicant? Okay. Seeing none, I would seek a motion, but I'm going to support the resolution. This is an example, I think, of a good backyard community player who it's not only bringing good economic development into the community, but it's bringing jobs and good jobs at that. So I would support this resolution. Is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 2018-81.
Second?
A motion on the floor from Mr. Rennemeyer with a second from Mr. Wilson, approving resolution 2018-81, and all in favor vote yes, opposed no. And the resolution passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 2, resolution number 2018-82, a resolution approving an agreement for economic incentives between the town of Windsor and the Hexcel Corporation. Again, legislative action, and again, Ms. Young will give presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Town Board. Tonight with us for the Hexcel incentive request, we have Matt and Mitch, both representing Hexcel. Again, Hexcel is also located in the Great Western Industrial Park. They are adding new manufacturing equipment with a total project cost of $20 million. With this added equipment, this will retain 40 employees and add 50 new jobs. With this equipment, it'll help them keep up with changing market conditions and diversify their customer base. Their incentive request is a 50% personal property tax rebate. Again, here you will see Exhibit B as part of the incentive agreement, showing the tax worksheet over a period of 10 years. The total personal property tax over 10 years will be a little over $386,000, and the 50% 10-year total refund will be $193,000. This, again, no effect on the Economic Incentive Fund balance. And we are requesting approval of Resolution 2018-82 for the incentive agreement for 50% personal property tax rebate for Hexcel.
Okay. Questions or comments for this resolution? Okay. Again, how lucky are we that we are seeing some great companies in Windsor expanding to not only to continue to grow, but to diversify, which I think is something that we also need to be cognizant of, and it's something that will continue to help add to the community, not only in terms of jobs, but economic development. So I think what we are providing for both of these incentives is a good example of how we can all partner with our businesses in our community.
Madam Mayor, may I also
Yes.
comment? Just a note, as we were discussing these incentives, we had talked about having a time limit or a dollar limit, whichever occurs first. And Mr. McCarter did build those into the agreements as requested, so it wasn't reflected in your the slide last time, but that's in keeping with our understanding. So thank you for your work on that.
Okay. Anything else? If not, I would seek a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 2018-82.
Second.
Motion on the floor from Mr. Redemeyer with a second from Mr. Baker for approving resolution 2018-82. All in favor vote yes, opposed no. And the resolution passes unanimously. Moving on to item 3, resolution 2018-83. Resolution approving and adopting an intergovernmental agreement between Weld R4 School District and the Town of Windsor for the School Resource Officer Program. Legislative action with Chief Clemick giving presentation.
Madam Mayor, Town Board members, there's no way I could be as judicious with my time or as succinct as Jill was, but I'll try to be quick. This is just a reauthorization of IGA with the school district in reference to our SRO program. We have one SRO at the school now who serves all the schools in Windsor except for the charter schools. You will see as we move forward in the future, there'll be some more requests in reference to that for future budgets, but as it stands right now, we have one SRO, and we'll continue in that format until that changes. So I'd recommend the passing of this IGA as presented.
Okay. Are there any questions? Okay. I think we've seen the benefit of what, and the school has certainly told us how they've seen some great improvements in having this officer there, so.
There has been a great positive feedback from it, and we've had 2 SROs fill that role in its inception, and they both did an excellent job. it's a good deal. And you'll see that the resolution in your packet probably was a blank resolution, but Crystal has the correct one that's been signed.
Okay,
Yeah,
Mr.
I have a
Baker.
question. As we add schools to the district, are you envisioning another person, a half a person, or can this person properly get to all the schools?
No, in fact, as you'll see as we move forward, there'll be requests for additional SROs for our existing schools without any addition to new schools. We do not service the Severn schools, and the schools, the charter schools will actually be a separate interaction with those.
Right, and to edify a little bit more, we'll have the superintendent and somebody from the school board on a future meeting agenda. They are gonna have a little bit of time to update the board, and one of their requests is to add on additional school resource officers. So it'd be, the request is gonna be to add it for the 2019 budget. So we'd fund it in 2019 and actually bring on that person or those people in the 1920 school year. So the school district is getting ready to make that request to the board in the next month or so.
And Severance, they don't.
They'll be serviced by the Severance Police Department or Well County SO. I imagine they may come to us with a request to join a partnership, but that's something we have to discuss.
Do they currently have one?
They have been using deputies to fill the roles of school needs.
No one committed, dedicated?
No.
Okay.
Anything else, Mr. Renmeyer?
Is this is for the following school year or for the school year right
This
starting?
current school
right
year
now?
we're entering into. So
Is
it's
the
next-
SRO gonna be the same? Is it, who's got that role right now?
That's Officer Stanger.
Is he gonna continue to be
He'll
the
continue in
SRO?
that role, yes, for at least a few more years.
Okay. That was all.
Any other questions, comments? Then I would seek a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number 2018-83.
Second.
Motion on the floor from Mr. Bennett with a second from Mr. Rennemeyer approving resolution 2018-83. All in favor vote yes, opposed no. And the resolution passes unanimously. Item 4, our financial report from Mr. Moyer. Mr.
Yes.
Moyer.
Thank you, ma'am. In your packet tonight is the July report. I don't have too much to add that's not printed in the report, but I'll touch on the highlights of, we are, of course, our record July sales tax collection. We've collected most of our property tax, and, excuse me, we are ahead of our collection rate in all of our revenue. So we are on target in the expenditures. These numbers here in July, excuse me, we will use these as the basis for projections for our 2019 budget. So this is a big week for us to work on budget. We'll be getting to that in September and October. Probably the biggest thing that in the finance world for us this year is we got our assessed valuation. I put that in my Friday report. We are up $68 million in assessed valuation. So that'll be extra property tax revenue for us for 2019. So that is my report, short of any questions you may have.
Are there any questions for Mr. Moyer? I don't, Mr. Sislavsky.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess too, Mr. Moore, for one, is there any area in terms of collection where year-to-date you're a little concerned about how we'll do through the budget year?
No, we are meeting the budget numbers, but in the construction use tax, we are just a little bit behind last year. But I know I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, was we are about to bring a lot of building permits online. So I think by the end of the year, we'll be okay on that. Probably ahead of last year, I would guess.
And I guess on the assessments, is that both commercial property and residential?
Yes.
And so, do you know the breakout by chance? Are we looking at a Gallagher issue again?
Out of what?
A Gallagher adjustment in terms
Oh,
of?
no, we're okay. I think I said in my report Friday, roughly 55 million of that is oil and gas money. So I think we'll be okay on the Gallagher thing. And us being a home rule city, I don't know that, and
Yeah,
correct me
right.
if I'm wrong. we
Yeah, I would
don't-
add, I think
we're
usually
exempt.
Gallagher happens at the state level. If there's, the state assesses the entire 55%, 45% ratio, and as that changes, it's adjusted there. It's not adjusted locally. Locally, we look more at taxpayer bill of rights and those kinds of things are what we have to run our calculations on.
So the mill rate won't be adjusted.
Well, I think that, this is my first budget in Windsor, but normally staff will run a worksheet with Tabor at the end of the year and make sure that those calculations work out. So I think Dean could speak more to that.
Yeah, we actually are exempt from Tabor. We did a debrucing measure, 2002 was it? Or 4 maybe? 2 I think. 4? So we are clear on that.
So any excess revenues just goes into the capital fund, or we stated where the excess revenues would go?
Well, the property tax will all go to the general fund.
Okay.
But the building permit thing that I'm talking about, that we split between the capital improvement fund and the rec expansion fund, and part goes to the original recreation center fund.
Okay, thank
Okay?
you.
Did we answer your question?
Chuck, and because you're looking at certainly Gallagher has impacted the assessment rate on residential, and we've seen it drop down, and I guess that's only at the state level.
Yes, sir.
So, our own assessment is governed by our home rule.
That's right, but if it hadn't have happened at the state level and we were still at nearly the 7% residential property tax, we would have actually received a lot more revenue.
Right.
So because that's ratcheted back down at the state level, it's, in municipalities, again, don't rely a whole lot on property tax, but I think we're gonna still see our fire districts, the library, any
Right.
special districts is Gallagher continues to kind of mess with that assessed valuation. I think we're gonna see those smaller districts be affected. They're kind of the boat staying afloat due to all the growth, but I think long term, well, we can talk about that later, but I think long term, the Gallagher's gonna need to be addressed somehow.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Moyer? Any additional questions?
No, thank you.
Okay. I don't have any questions, but at the top of your report, and I just want to make sure, we should have done it when Chief Klemick was up here, but I think we ought to recognize our Chief of Police and all of our men in blue, and as he recognized and said at our coffee with the mayor, and our citizens. I think we should give them a round of applause for Windsor being the safest city in Colorado, but it certainly is related to our leadership at our police, our staff there, and all of our guys in blue who I know every day are working hard on the streets. I see them out and about, and I think that has to do with something when you see our folks out and about. And I'm very thankful that I'm able to live in this kind of a community, and the data has proved it too, that we are ranked the safest city in the state in 2018. So here's to our police. Okay, moving on to item 5, Economic Development Report. Ms. Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Town Board members. For those of you new Town Board members, usually during the summertime I have our economic development partners come up and give a report. So here tonight is Lisa Hudson, who is the director of the Small Business Development Center for East Colorado. Jill has taken over my former board position with them, so she works with them and attends their meetings. And so she's going to give a quick report, and then I'll give you a quick economic development report just on some numbers and some activity that we've seen.
Thank you. Good evening. Well, I wanted to start off with something just because, we are at the SBDC, we're helping people do what they're most passionate about and helping them do what they were designed to do. So I wanted to start off with some quotes from our clients who are meeting with our Windsor consultant, Kyla Benson. Wouldn't be growing my business as fast as I am without the help and advice from the SBDC. Thank you. Ms. Benson offered detailed advice on my pressing issues and pointed me to helpful resources. It was a great use of my time, as always. Ms. Benson helped me get into action right on the spot, so I moved my planned talk into a rough draft. So just a little peek into what we're helping some of the clients with, and it's really an exciting time to be a small business in Windsor. Some updates on what we're working on right now. One of the clients in Windsor, a small business, is working with the Montfort College of Business as a project. So we're really excited. They'll be introduced to the class on September 10th, and that equates to about 200 additional hours for that small business of counseling time. We are also investigating some new tools to elevate our financial benchmarking tools and consulting services to our clients. And this will only help specifically with the in-business clients that are already in business. Since we provide an in-depth service to startups, we're looking to just elevate our financial benchmarking tools we have available. Over the last 3 years, we've had an increase trend with our consulting and outreach hours. In 2015, we were at 323, 16 at 328, and 17 at 333 hours. We've also had an increased trend over the last 3 years in creating full-time jobs. In 2015, it was 19 jobs. In 2016, it was 74. And last year, 2017, a bit of an outlier, but we helped create 105 jobs. So we are really helping these small business owners. Some other notes from last year: capital formation, which includes loans obtained, owner injection, or grants, totaled $818,000, and a sales growth from the previous year, a delta change of $400,000. So we are having an impact with these small businesses, and just really excited to be part of the Windsor small business community. Any questions?
Okay. Any questions?
Oh, we do have regular office hours here on Tuesdays, every Tuesday at the Windsor Chamber of Commerce.
That's
Okay.
my question.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, thank you, Ryan.
if I can, Your
Go
Honor, I
ahead.
just want to know, so what region do you, like, what other communities do you cover with your region?
We cover 22,000 square miles of Colorado, everything east of I-25 and pretty much north of La Junta, 13 counties. So a lot of small towns. Greeley's the largest city, and then Windsor is one of our larger towns, most definitely.
Okay, great, thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you.
for the report, Lisa.
Thank you.
Item D, moving on to communications. Communications from our town. Oh, I'm sorry, Stacy.
I'll be really quick. I
I'm
promise.
on this roll, you know. Hey, sorry.
Yeah.
I gotta jump in.
You know, I can go sit down too. I'm okay with that.
We're trying to set a record tonight.
Yes, I'm sorry, I will hurry. So we've been really busy. Thank you for all your
Surely,
support.
nothing
Yeah.
else, but.
Yeah. So, since the end of June, since I came up and talked to you guys, we've had a lot of just general activity. Again, met with Water Valley and the Brands and talk about growth and some development options out there. Staff, including Shane, our town manager and stuff, met with Ptarmigan and Jaeger Properties to talk about development going on up there and some of the requirements there. And then Lariva, we were able to get them going on, which is John Turner's property up around County Road 5, where the new brewery is going in up there. We actually got some of their marketing material, and I was able to start promoting that as well. We had an NCRTA update to the EDC Commission, and that presentation, they are still after us to try to do another presentation or come back and give them some final information. So we're working through that with the RTA board and with the OEDIT staff. So the Office of Economic Development and International Trade staff, working through getting an update to them and see where we're going to move forward. The next meeting for the Ranch Master Plan Steering Committee is on September 13th. I'll be attending that meeting. Been going to following board meetings just like normal for Colorado Real Estate for Women, Economic Development Council of Colorado, and Columbine Advisory, NOCO Manufacturing Board, and then, as I mentioned, Jill's on the Small Business Development Center Board. We had 4 prospect visits that actually came into town and met with us in the last couple months. This was a busy month, and I really want to take the time to thank you guys sincerely for all your participation. I know you guys have other duties outside of here and jobs and responsibilities, so for you guys to have this many things happen in the last 6 to 8 weeks was unusual, but it's fantastic and it goes to our growth. So We've had a lot of general activities. I only had one speaking engagement for the Society of Marketing Professional Services. They do a bunch of like contractors, engineers, civil engineers, all of them. I went over to the Hearth last week and gave a presentation about all the activity that's going on in Windsor. Got a couple people that want to talk to me about some projects that they're trying to do in town. And then again, general activity, we go to the Metro Denver Economic Development Professionals meeting when we can to stay in touch with the EDC down there. It's usually every other month, and we make maybe one a quarter if we're lucky. It's just busy, it depends. Jill and I also attended a retail hospitality event. It was interesting. It was a little bit too much Denver focused. I don't think it really got into as much of Northern Colorado or what you can do in smaller communities. I was a little bit disappointed in that event. But also all the ribbon cuttings and groundbreakings that you guys have participated in and the FAM tour, really just want to again say thank you, because I know that that was some busy time. And also attended the regional business after hours. Town board member Rennemeyer was able to go with us to that event. The next business listening session will be September 19th. I believe, I think Paul and Rennemeyer and Barry Wilson are going to attend that, town board members. Thank you for that. Jill is currently working on 6 expansion projects now, and then we did 5 business retention expansion visits in this last time. So don't want to delay anything. We didn't know if anybody had any
questions for Ms. Miller?
Yeah.
Have to practice that last name. so
Sorry,
don't
I
screw up
know.
on that one.
Just threw you all for a loop on that one, didn't I?
That's
Sorry.
okay.
Yeah. Thank you guys again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item D, communications. Communications from our town attorney.
Nothing other than a reminder that we have an executive session at the end of this meeting.
Okay, communications from town staff. Anything from anybody? Mr. Chief?
I guess you went out of order there.
Put the children.
September 5th, I believe, is the first Tuesday in September following Labor Day is back to school, so we'll be setting up some crosswalk
September 4th.
stations, September 4th, crosswalk stations. I'll send out the details where we'll be meeting and when. So the fire districts, I've spoken with Chief Blackwell, and he's setting up, coordinating with our officers where we'll be stationed. We're only going to do it for one day, not for the entire week. So I'll send that information out to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody have anything else? Okay, communications from our town manager.
Just another reminder, Your Honor, this Wednesday at 5:30, we have the joint meeting with the town of Severance, the Windsor Severance Library, and the fire department. So hope to see everybody at the library at 5:30.
Okay. Communications from town board members. Nothing? I just want to remind everybody, we don't have a meeting on Monday night, that being Labor Day weekend. So this is Windsor's big festival of the year. So we invite you all to come out and participate. I know between the Windsor Harvest Festival Committee and our folks in Parks and Rec have been working very hard to make it a wonderful weekend full of lots of family-friendly, good fun activities and events. But I hope you all participate in a very safe and kindly manner towards one another this weekend. So with that, we do have an executive session this evening. Is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, we move into executive session pursuant to Colorado Revised Statute 24-6-402, subsection 4, subsection E, subsection L, for the purpose of determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and instructing negotiators with respect for certain economic development incentives.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion on the floor from Mr. Rennemeyer with a second from Mr. Bennett to move into executive session. All in favor vote yes, opposed no. And we will take a 5-minute break and move into executive session. Thank you.